Like I reserved a bartender's time for a wedding on a fucking Saturday or a private party, whatever it is, right? It's a Saturday. Like when does a bartender make most of his money? On a Friday or a Saturday? This is when people go out, right? So I'm asking this guy, take time out of your job, reserve it for me because I'm going to pay you a little bit more money than you're going to make behind the bar in tips tonight. And then all of a sudden the event cancels. Like, so now he doesn't have work on that night. So he's taking his most profitable night away from him. So it's those sort of things where I'm always going to make sure as a business owner, like we're getting enough of a deposit so that if you do back out of this thing, I'm still going to pay them. Like I got to pay them because if I don't, then trying to get good bartenders are going to be impossible. Because now every time I ask a guy, are you available for this date? He's thinking, well, is it really
serious or not or whatever? However, I always do that. And I tell my team, even if I reserve and for whatever reason, which thankfully hasn't happened frequently, like I think it's one-off, I will always pay you at minimum 5 hours.
Right.
Because that cancellation fee is for that.
Yeah, exactly.
It is there. And I structure my contracts are very attorney driven because that's my background that's what I studied to be an attorney.
Okay.
It's
very helpful, actually.
Very different from most planners, right? So wanted to be a teacher, then psychologist, and I was like, neither one of them are going to fulfill me.
Right.
And I'm going to spend my whole entire time. One is not going to make money, and the other one's going to be like, I have to listen to people's problems all the time. And then I went into law, and I was like, okay. But then when I went to practice, I'm like, I don't want to hear people arguing all the time. So now I teach people a lot, right? Because you're educating your clients all the time and your team. You're listening to people's problems, whether you like it or not, because there's a problem and you have to fill it and you have to help them resolve it. And then attorney, I'm writing contracts and reading contracts and arbitrating for my clients all the time. So it's the trifecta, but it's a balance that I really love and I love what I do. So I set up my contracts very similar to what a hotel sets up their contract. And it states that if you cancel within 120 days, you get 75% back.
Okay. Yep.
Then if you're canceling within 90 days, then you only get 50% back. But if you're canceling within 30 days, you get zero.
Yeah. I actually do this very similar.
It's a tier.
Yeah.
It's a
Not
tier.
exactly.
And it adjusts, right.
But similar.
It's changed throughout the years. So right now, my finance team changed it a little bit differently. So it's less of a deposit back.
Yep.
And now we don't return any money whatsoever. You get a credit for a future event within 6 months.
Okay.
So at no point in time are we writing a check back to the client.
Yep.
We're giving them a credit towards a future event. And that in my 20 years plus that I've been in the industry as my own business, I've only had to do that twice.
Right. Yeah.
Thankfully.
Yeah, I haven't had too many. There's been some random instances of canceled events. I think only in one case I was not able to reschedule for the date they wanted.
Correct.
It was a crazy situation. It was actually coming right out of COVID. It was the year after. This bride required everybody got COVID tested 3 or 4 days before the wedding. And then on site when everybody got there that day to unload and set up, we also had to do another one of those like instant tests.
Right.
We all showed up. Everybody got tested. We were all good. And then 20 minutes later, they came out and told us they had to cancel the wedding because the bride tested positive. So kind of sucks. It was like she set herself up for her own demise. But obviously, she was just trying to make sure that everything was safe. She didn't want to throw the super spreader wedding. Totally get it. And now they just tried to reschedule it for 2 weeks later. And it just so happened that was like a bad Saturday to try to reschedule because I had numerous events. And I always have a golden rule, which is I will not screw up somebody else's event who has paid me to honor something for someone who like just landed on my lap, no matter what the amount of money is, because Agreed. I do believe your reputation in this industry is everything.
Yes.
It's even bigger than how good you are at marketing, how good your product is. I'm sure you go through this. The majority of the business I do is referral based. Most of the time I answer the phone. It's, hey, I got your number from so-and-so. So you really 100%. Need to always live up to what your expectations are, right. Deliver for your clients, or you're going to fucking crash and burn in your 100%. Business.
And it's funny you say that because it's as simple as I don't take calls from clients that are not the client I'm working with at this moment during their event.
Yeah.
Because it's disrespectful to the current client that I'm sitting there talking about a different event when I should be focused on what vendors are arriving, what timeline I have, making sure everything's set up. There's so many details. There's thousands of details the day of an event for me to be taking a call from a client. So I'll answer and say, hey, I'm so sorry. Thank you so much. I'm right now setting up for another event. I will call you back on Monday or Tuesday. And I'll tell them specific date and time and schedule it. Otherwise, I don't pick up the phone because it's disrespectful to the person that I'm dealing with at that moment. So,
Sure. Yeah, no, I agree. All right, so let's start this off like in a somewhat structured manner. So obviously you mentioned before you've been doing this 20 years,
24.
which is 24 years. Jesus,
And in the industry, about 30.
Okay.
So I was about 13 years old that I walked a wedding.
Okay.
And my brother was fascinated with the DJ.
Okay.
An amazing DJ, Jem and Johnny Caride. He passed away recently. And he kind of fell in love with the whole DJing thing. And he would drag me along to all his events. And he's like, hey, he calls me Tata. He goes, Tata, I need you to come with me to like hype up the party. I'm like, okay. And both of them were like, you should be a planner. You definitely would be amazing at planning. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna. No, that's ridiculous. That's because at the time it was like a hobby career.
Okay. Yeah,
it wasn't really like a career where you see David Stera and Preston Bailey and all these big, beautiful, amazing planners that make a huge living out of being a planner. So I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm going to be an attorney, I swear. And one way or another, I came back to this world of events, and it's one of those addictions that you have. It's an adrenaline every time I do it.
Now let me ask you then, so what is it? Like if you had to put your finger on one thing about the event industry, I mean, you mentioned it's not easy to become a lawyer. It's 8 years of fucking college. You got to pass a bar exam, right? Law school is like going to a whole other second college after you got out of college. My aunt is also a lawyer. I remember watching her go through that. Stacks of books, like just buried in there studying to try to pass this exam. So I'm curious, like what pulls you away from the legal life and into events? Because like, I mean, me, I love what I do, but I also am the first one to admit like events are fucking stressful and it's not something for everybody. We work some crazy hours. We got to give up a lot of time when people are celebrating and instead of celebrating with our family and friends. So I want to know what is it that drives you into this versus a legal
I think we have a
career.
little bit of crazy in us back there in the back of our mind, because it's for us to love what we do and really jump into a building that's on fire. Technically, that's what we do, right? There's always chaos. It's the satisfaction. It's the satisfaction of putting a plan together and seeing your clients just light up.
Yeah.
It's to have all the plans. 99% of it is planning. And then you create this amazing event and how you make people feel.
Yeah.
You may not be saving lives, but you're definitely making history. One of my very good friends, and I work with him a lot, Joe Plana, always says, we're not saving lives, we're not making history. I'm like, I always correct him and I say, Joe, we're making history. Because so many people 5, 10, 15 years later, Ali, oh my God, I'll run into them at IKEA, for example. It just happens. And, oh my God, mom, remember, this is my planner. My wedding was just so amazing, or my event was so amazing. And the way that we still feel about that event, like that in itself is the drug that keeps me coming back for more.
Yeah, there is something to be said about when people really appreciate what you've done for them. I know that it means the world to me when I'm like at an event and a client pulls me aside and says like, oh my God, I'm so impressed with what you guys do. This is amazing. Thank you so much. This team is great, right? And I always know, like when I hear it, I'm always thinking to myself like, okay, half of that is on me. The other half is on people that are here pouring your drinks. My wife was in the office doing all this admin work. I'm just a piece of it, right? But still, it's like I created this from nothing, almost a decade. It'll be a decade now in April. And I really just did this because I wanted to control my own time, right? I just didn't want to work for somebody else anymore. And my whole goal was just like, okay, I was making like maybe $65,000, $70,000 as a bartender. If I could make the same thing, just doing this for myself, fucking great, right? And then it started to like take off, and you would see that like, wow, the people I'm serving at an event have like a whole different expression on their face and a whole different light of appreciation than like the people I'm serving, in a fancy ass restaurant or a bar. It was just It's just different. So I totally understand that. I get it. There's something really rewarding about knowing that something you created was really special and impactful to someone's day, whatever that is. Could be a kid's birthday, could be a bar mitzvah, could be a wedding, could be a corporate event. It really doesn't matter, right? So I think when you're that ability to create something and then be proud of it, watch it grow. It's like I'm a dad. I feel like it's almost like watching my kid
Exactly.
do the same thing.
Exactly. Your team grows and you see that grow, and it's just it's amazing. It's my third child.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
This is definitely my third
Stressful.
child.
It's stressful, just like a child.
For sure.
Just like a
for
child.
sure. But I think that challenges that come with it, and when you start overcoming those challenges, almost like second nature,
Yeah.
that in itself drives me even more. It fuels me to a whole different level.
Yeah.
You will go to an event of mine that, let's say, the client wanted to hire us just for the day of.
Yep.
Which we all know in the industry is not just the day of.
Of course
right?
not. Of course not.
So you start going through everything, and in this case, I was pregnant with my second child. I was with my son. I was due in August, and it was June. It was the middle of June. It was very hot. The ceremony was in the Coral Gables Congregational Church right across from the Biltmore, and so the reception was at the Biltmore, and I kept calling that DJ over and over and over again just to confirm, hey, I know I spoke to you earlier in the week, but I just want to make sure you're good. You got the address, you know where it is, which ballroom, blah blah. I'm literally this pregnant and dying, and no answer. Then he calls me back, oh yeah, I'm on my way. Then when he was supposed to be there is not showing up. Now he's not answering at all. Like no text, no email, no phone, nothing. And I'm like, what is going on? So now we're about an hour away from the ceremony. And I'm like, well, I need to come up with a plan B. So we start calling every DJ in our docket, every DJ in our portfolio that we've ever worked with, obviously from priority that we would love to work with, preferred, all the way down. Yeah. We end up with 4 DJs that say, look, I can get there, but it won't be until this time, or I can get there and whatever. We told them all to come because whoever got there first was going to set up. Now, my baby shower was the next day. And I told my husband, I need you to bring the sound system that we have in our home that we use for our own personal events so that at the very least I can start the cocktail hour. So we started the cocktail hour. It was like the 90-minute cocktail hour. And finally, I had a DJ come in and started setting up, but I told the bride and groom, I need to bring you into the ballroom. Things are going to be a little different. Don't worry about the why, just things are going to be different. And the groom's finally grilling me, and he's like, what's going on? I go, look, the DJ's not here. Nope, there's no fighting. There's no nothing. Like, we're not arguing about this right now. We're going to go straight into dinner. I'm going to welcome everyone, dinner, and then you're going to go and say hi to everyone. And by that time, when dinner's over, I'll have a DJ set up for you, and you'll do first dance, and we'll do all the traditional stuff. And he's like, are you sure? I go, yes. There's no arguing. You can't say no to a pregnant woman. They both stayed quiet, and we walked into the ballroom with music hooked up to my phone at this point. So I had to put it on airplane mode. I was like freaking out because I was like, vendors are going to call me. Things are going to happen. So we put it on. We had music, and about 40 minutes later, DJ was set up. We paid people to leave that day. Like, we paid DJs here. Thank you for going. And we had warned them. Yeah. Here's $300. Here's $300.
They probably
Thank you
care.
So much. No, they were happy.
Yeah,
they were
happy.
fine. Okay. And so we set them up, and the bride and groom were like, wow, you saved my wedding. Yeah. Like, you totally saved my wedding. Yeah. And that's the importance of having a planner, a season planner helps.
I agree. It's funny. It reminds me of a story. My last guest, Marilyn Exposito.
Oh my God.
I asked her craziest wedding story ever. And she gave me an example of, like, if I'm not mistaken, I think her venue had some issue with a broken gas pipe that was caused by the city and a subcontractor.
In Coral Gables.
Yes. So then she didn't have a venue, and the bride and groom were at the church getting married, and she's calling around. Like, it was just a crazy story. And the point of this, I'm not going to retell that whole story, obviously. Like, Marilyn explained it here. But it just reminds me, because it's like what you said at the end, right? So for anyone who's listening, if you're a potential bride, you're a potential groom, this is the difference between good vendors and bad vendors. Good vendors are going to find a solution to the problems they face, because just in case you need to know this, problems are going to fucking happen, because it's like Newton's law, right? Like what can go wrong will go wrong. Things will go wrong. It's inevitable. But it's the way that people remain calm, cool, collective, and okay, I have a problem. I got a solution. Now we're going to exercise that solution. And in the end of the day, the party goes on. Like, you know, we continue on with this wedding. Everybody's happy. It's like, I used to have this really good restaurant owner who used to tell us about, like, you know, it's impossible to please every guest in this restaurant. We get 250 of them at a time. We'll do 1,000 in a night. You're dealing with like human nature here. So it's unexpected, right? Some people have a good experience, some people have a bad experience. Right. Our job, or what our objective is to try to eliminate as many of those mistakes as possible, right? So it's like the duck on the water theory, right? When you watch a duck on top of the water, he's just gliding across and it's fucking beautiful and majestic. What's happening underneath that water is fucking chaos, right? Mm-hmm. And so the good vendors handle the chaos, still make it look gracious and beautiful. At the end of the day, 5, 6, 10 things went wrong, but nobody fucking noticed. And that's all that matters. You don't notice until he asks you, then you got to tell him. But other than that, he wouldn't fucking know, right? And that's really a huge difference. And that, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, that comes with experience. Of course. That's the difference between me 10, 11 years in and the guy who just started doing this 2 years ago. It's not that he is a less talented individual than me. He just hasn't been through enough of the shit to learn from it yet. I've seen it all, right? I've made the mistakes. I've learned how to fix them. You can anticipate what's going to go wrong because you've been doing this long enough. Right. And you can help eliminate those mistakes.
And you've made relationships in the industry.
Exactly.
That help you, because I can't even tell you the number of times that as planners, we call each other and say, listen, I need this, this one canceled, this happened, this. And so we help each other out a lot. Yeah. And I'm going to go back to what you were saying about bride or groom. It's corporate too, because 80% of what I do is corporate events. Mm-hmm. And our corporate clients, they have no idea sometimes what goes into it. Yep. And the fact that you're hiring someone that's seasoned versus someone that just started. I mean, everyone has to start somewhere, right? Mm. But regardless is their demeanor, the way they carry themselves, the way their experience is, because maybe they have experience from other events. The way that they can resolve, the way we can resolve issues quickly makes a huge difference, because unlike other industries, we don't have days. You can't just say, oh, you know what? I'm not going to open the restaurant today. I'm going to postpone it 2 weeks because I still have to paint. I still have to do this. No. We're live.
Yeah, exactly.
We are 100% live. This is all happening. There's no, okay, cut, record again. Like you gotta keep going. And if you can't fix those issues quickly, you're shit out of luck.
Right. 100%. Yeah, and a lot of that comes from, it's not just you're quick on your feet. No, like you said, you knew that many DJs. To call that many DJs.
Correct.
Maryland was the exact same. The reason they got a fucking venue was because
Maryland had the connection.
She had the connection, and the lady that she knew, her husband ran the venue there, so they did her a favor. They weren't using this specific area of the hotel, even though it wasn't necessarily big enough. Doesn't matter. They gave it to her at a price that they could. If she didn't have those contacts and was able to make those phone calls, like you were just brand new and you're just sitting there like a deer in headlights, like I'm fucked.
Exactly.
Someone's day is about to crash and it is going to end up all falling on you. Even though you didn't cause the gas leak, it's not your fucking fault. It doesn't matter. It's like we're always going to be a target for that because, you know, I would imagine this is something I don't personally deal with. I was just saying this to you before we started. Like as a cocktail caterer, my job is to manage just what I do, the bar. And the staff that I have coming to the event, my realm of responsibility. But I also know, because I do a lot of different types of events and especially weddings, you're dealing with, as a planner, 15 to 20 different vendors. And I can't even fathom the level of stress because, you know, managing people in general, the thing that sucks about it is you're taking responsibility for something that ultimately you don't have the direct control of, right?
Correct.
So it's like you're hoping these people deliver what you need them to do. And so if I had to deal with that from like 15 or 20 different vendors, I don't know, just mentally holding yourself together for an event. I give a lot of credit to planners who do this and do it really well. I see some that do it really bad, but those that do it really well, it's impressive because, like I said, it would be like me managing 20 different companies like myself all at the same time to execute one thing on one fucking day, right? In a matter of, whatever
Hours.
it is, 5, 6, 7 hours. I mean, what is the biggest challenge from a planner's perspective in managing all these different vendors? I mean, is it just a matter of the amount of pins of communication that you're getting on a daily basis, or?
So I always say something, and my team's going to laugh when they hear this, is I think the number one skill that everyone, not just planners, should have is communication. It's the way you communicate, how you communicate, not just with your team, but with your vendors. It is crazy to think that just the change of a word can make a difference. The change of a number can make a difference.
Sure.
You have to over communicate in this industry. You have to make sure that everything is crystal clear, and the amount of touch points that you have to have with the same exact information is probably 4 times as much as anything else. Because again, the importance of live events, it's not something you can press pause on and re-record.
Right.
So especially when you're dealing with venues that are very difficult in setup, in logistics, and that's our specialty, is logistics. So you have a place like Vizcaya, for example, that you only have 45 minutes to set up in the garden before your reception starts,
And it's a massive venue and everything's super spread the fuck out.
So then it goes back to what you said is the quality of your vendors. And you're only as good as your team. I could be the most amazing planner, the most amazing person, but if my vendors aren't equally as qualified to deliver what they're saying they're going to deliver, then everything goes to shit. That same day that you said Marilyn had a gas leak, I had a wedding in the beach. That same day, we had the same vendor delivering decor. She had a vendor, the vendor at her place, deliver everything, had to move everything, delayed my process of receiving decor at my place. But if it wasn't because we communicated correctly and the vendor goes, Ali, we have this on the way. We have this. I know your parameters. You have about an hour before you can start. He's almost there. We're going to deliver. We're going to have this backdrop for you. I promise everything's great. I had no idea it was Marilyn. I had no clue.
Right.
But the vendor, that communication, the way that everything comes through, then I was at peace because I knew that person was going to deliver. And the history showed that even when they had 20 minutes to set up, they would set up in 10. So again, communication is the number one thing, and it's also our demise. When you have people that do not communicate, including our own clients, giving us information or not giving us information.
Sure. I deal with that a lot.
It brings a whole different level to the game. So I think that's both the detriment and the value that we have as well.
And I would say as a vendor, to kind of piggyback on that, this is where I'll kind of talk about the opposite of that, where I see the gap in communication that causes me problems as a vendor. And the one that comes to mind first and foremost is incorrect guest counts. Okay. I said that with like a focus there for a reason, because
bold.
Look, I think for a lot of vendors for the fucking DJ or the photographer, it doesn't fucking matter, right? Not. But for the caterer, for the person who's delivering tables and chairs, for the guy who's doing the bar, these things, they absolutely do matter, because our costs are being compiled based on how many people we got to serve and how long we got to serve those people for. And so I've seen everything.
And to be clear,
I've fucking seen some crazy shit.
For everyone that's listening, we're not talking about, 5 people showed up that weren't supposed to, or 10 people difference.
We're talking about like fucking, I've had like a 300 person party that turned into a 600 person party before, right? Or 150 people that turned into 250. I think a lot of times people don't understand the percentages here. Like if you tell me 100 and 150 people show up, you've increased your guest count by 50%, right? There's no way the food or the bar planned for 50% of extra consumption, especially in a world where everything costs so much money and it's just constantly rising, right? We're trying to find a way. Like, I'm never going to show up with exactly enough product to serve the very last cocktail. No, that's never going to happen. And that's also something that people should understand and expect when you're getting pricing. Like, your food caterer is not trying to serve like the last fucking piece of meat, like he's you have to over prepare to a
Right.
certain degree because there are elements we can never fully control, right? I'm serving a full bar, I'm serving 5 different specialty cocktails, but everybody drinks fucking tequila and just that one cocktail. It's like you got to plan for those things, right? Because no matter what, the client doesn't care why they ran out. They just care that they fucking ran out. That's all they care about.
Right.
So I say this because give us the opportunity to do the job right, you know, because there's a lot of problems people cause by not giving the correct guest counts, right? Like I just mentioned one, running out of product, right? Not having enough glassware, not having enough ice. How about the worst for me is not having enough fucking staff to serve them. Like, you thrusting a bartender into a miserable situation where instead of him having a smile on his face and doing this with pleasure, he's fucking stressed. He hasn't stopped for 4 or 5 hours. He's fucking sweating because it's South Florida and it's hot. And he's just over serving because he's serving way too many people than he could possibly do it. And usually, like, for me, when my bartenders complain, that's why. It's because they feel like I can't deliver the service I want to deliver. People don't understand how much that stresses people out who give a fuck. Like, if I can't do the job I want to do, then I feel stressed about it, you know? It's like, because nobody wants to put their bad foot forward, right? So that's something that for me as a vendor has always been the biggest problem. And I think people do this because they want to pay less money. Let's be fucking honest.
No,
They tell you
100%,
less
that's what they
guest
do.
counts because they want to pay less money.
Especially when you have food stations or buffets. They're like, oh, okay, it's less. But then you get into, because as planners, we have to know a little bit about everything, right? We have to be jack of all trades, master of none type of thing. So it's like, you sit there and you tell me it's 100 people and all of a sudden 150 people show up. Where the heck am I supposed to sit 150 people to sit down and eat dinner? Yeah. Forget that it's a sit down dinner. Sit down dinner, you're screwed. Like it's going to look bad on the client no matter what because you have to plan properly. You have to seat everyone. However, when you have food stations or buffet and you're intending on sitting down and eating at the same time, where the hell am I going to pull 50 chairs that look exactly like the ones that I just rented? I have to figure it out. So we ask 50 times. We've learned, even in corporate, we've learned, I need the invitation. I need the guest list. I need this. I need that. Like, we ask 50,000 different questions. Short of me asking your blood type, we ask every single question because we need to know everything, which is why the whole attorney thing comes in. And you kind of like, listen, you can't lie to 2 people in your life, your attorney and your accountant. Everything else, they will, like, the more you tell them, the more information you tell them, the more helpful they're going to be. So same thing with your planner. Add that to your list. Number 3, don't lie to your planner. So you need to tell us what's going on because we can react differently
for sure
when you have situations like that and say, look, I don't know that these people are coming, but just in case, this is what I'd rather you tell me that than, oh, it's only 100 people and 200 people show up.
Exactly. And look, I do, you know, you do a lot of corporate events. I know you think you said it's like 80%, right?
80%
of your business.
Of our business is corporate.
I don't know what percentage of my business is corporate, what percentage is weddings. I don't know. I feel like I kind of just fucking do an equal spread of just about everything. But interestingly enough, and I always say this to the guys, corporate events, one of the things I love about corporate events versus weddings is that everything is so much more fucking detailed and very, like, so I'm going to give an example. Like, if a corporate group says it's 200 people and the event's taking place at like the Ritz or something like this, or the Lowe's or whatever it is, Fontainebleau, it's fucking 200 people. Like, it's definitely 200 people.
It could be less.
It could be less, but it's not going to be more than 200 people.
Definitely
If the party is 6 to 9 p.m., it's going to start at 6, it's going to fucking end at 9, right? You deal with less bullshit because I don't know whether it's just because, you know, the type of client that you're dealing with. I always say, I think it's more about, like, whenever I'm dealing with corporate groups, it's always on hotel properties. 99 times out of 100, it's on a hotel property. And my wife used to do events in hotels. She used to work at JW Marriott Turnberry. And so I know how contractually everything is, right? It's like very, very fucking specific in terms of numbers. With private parties, some of that shit can kind of end up going out the window a little bit because I just feel like everybody's intention is just please the client, please the client, please the client, no matter what sacrifice that might be to anybody, you know?
Right?
It's emotional.
Because chances are social, it's either somebody's birthday, somebody's getting married, an anniversary of some sort. It's emotional. So it goes back to you're making history. You're creating a core memory for them versus corporate. people that are attending are going to definitely be invested because they're going to be like, wow, that was an amazing event, or I felt great, or whatever the case is. But they're just checking a box.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, I needed to do a holiday party for my company. Check. Okay, employee engagement. Check.
Right.
And so yes, they care about their job because
Sure.
depending on who's hiring you,
Yep.
it depends on their bonus or how engaged people were or whatever the
Sure.
case is. But it's completely different. And so you are dealing with a lot more details.
Yeah.
You definitely have a lot more communication and more liberty as a planner because you have certain parameters. You're more likely to get a budget versus not, because some social clients don't have the first idea, the first clue as to what things cost.
Yeah.
Especially if they don't do events frequently. I do have a client that frequents, we call them legacy clients, that frequent us and do about 4 to 5 events a year with us. And so they know very well what
Yeah.
things cost and
Yeah.
what don't. But when you have a client that's a referral that says, hey, I want you to do my daughter's wedding just like you did so-and-so's. And then when you tell them the price, they're like, what?
Yeah, it's like they didn't talk to their
I'm
friend to
like,
find
you
out what
obviously
they
didn't
paid.
talk numbers because that's a fine line. Like you don't talk how much money you spent on a car or whatever.
That's kinda
certain
weird
things.
though. Like, you know,
But you should know.
I'll like go to a fucking someone's house. Like, you know, I was just at a St. Patrick's Day party with my kid on Saturday. And I'm trying to find a landscaper to like redo my yards. And the guy's house who I go over, he just got all that shit redone. So I'm asking him, what did
Yeah,
you
of
pay for
course.
this? Who's your
Of
contract?
course.
It's like those kind of conversations are perfectly okay to have. But then you start asking like, hey, what did the bar caterer cost you for your wedding? Oh, no, here's the number. Just read
Here's
that
the
to
number.
me.
Just call them.
Like, why does it fucking matter? It doesn't
Because
matter.
they're
You know?
either embarrassed or they don't want to show off, or they're like so many different reasons. But at the end of the day, you have to, going back to the teaching part, you have to educate people.
Yeah.
And so I go back to the client and I was like, listen, let's sit down. Let's ask a couple of questions before I even take on the job. Is the date available? Yes. Is it something that I think we both function together? Like that you should hire me, I should actually accept a contract from you? Then maybe not, because I don't want to invest your money in a different way than you should.
Yeah.
So if you're giving it to me, it's an investment no matter what, right? So if I have 100 people, going back to, we were talking about this offline, but I had the quinces on Saturday. We had 80 people going in and the client's like, I have this much money. Okay, $50,000. Amazing. So if it's 80 people and you want this, 1 through 10 items, then I could do it. However, if it's more than this, if you all of a sudden come up with another 20, 30 people that I didn't know about, then it's going to increase. So it depends on what it is. Or we have to keep the same budget, but cut all of these other ancillary activities. So you start going back and forth and almost playing like a tug of war. Is that something you want to do? Is that something you don't want to do? That's a give and take, and that's a decision you have to make as a business owner. But you definitely don't want to devalue yourself, because you end up bringing the whole industry down with you.
No, never drop your prices if you understand your value. I get it. If you are new in this industry, you need to make a name for yourself.
Right.
You need to get out there. I used to do fucking events for almost barely any money, break even. But that's because I was trying to get people to know who Craft Cartel is. And you do got to get out there and do business in this industry to grow a name for yourself.
Right.
I don't care how good of a website you build. I don't care what kind of content you're putting together on social media. Or who you might know in the event industry. Trust me, you're only going to get a shot because you have that experience. And so you got to start somewhere, no matter how good you are, and then you will work your way up to those bigger, clients and whatnot. Now, I have a question for you, because you're a planner, right?
Yes.
This is what I want to know. So events are getting more expensive. The world's getting more expensive, right? So, you want to do a wedding or a corporate event, whatever the event is. Expect that the prices today are not the prices of 2019 or even 2020, right? Now, what I see a lot of times when people are, sending me inquiries to give them proposals for bar catering, I see these weddings with 250 people, but this person has obviously a limit on what they can spend, right? So, I'm always thinking as a non-planner, I don't know if you guys do this, but are you suggesting or recommending to people who want to do quality events, hey, maybe consider dropping your guest count? Because I don't think people understand. Now, there are some things that will not change Your venue cost is your venue cost. Doesn't make a difference.
Right.
Your videographer is going to charge what he's going to charge, your photographer, etc. But the less people you got, the less money you are going to spend. There's a lot of this event industry is driven on consumption. Your consumption is higher when you have more people. So I'm just curious to know, like, as a planner, if you see events getting a little bit smaller, are people getting conscious of this? Are they still willing to do events, but maybe just shrink down the size? Or are we just still dealing with this fucking stubbornness of where people think that they could do a 250 person wedding in 2025 for the prices they would have done one in 2019? Because it just seems like, I don't know, at some point, something's got to give, but there's not much we can give as vendors because like our cost is ballooning, you know?
So I'm adjusting myself in the chair because that's a lot to unpack, right? So there's a lot of different things to talk about there. One is going back to legacy clients. You have a legacy client that paid for their oldest daughter's wedding in 2019, and now we're in 2025 and they're doing their youngest daughter's wedding. Of course, they want the same price that they paid in 2019. Allie, but you charged me $5,000 less for your service than in 2019. I'm like, no, I can't do that. Think about it. And so I go back to, depending on what they do for a living, I try to create an analogy that they can best relate to, right? So I deal with a lot of doctors. I deal with a lot of construction people. So I tell them, let me ask you a question. Can you pay for that piece of drywall the same that you paid in 2019? Can you go to the store right now or to any of your suppliers and pay the same price today that you paid in 2019? Well, no, of course not. So what percentage is it? Is it 10% more? Is it 20% more? Is it 40? No, Ali, I mean, after COVID, imagínate, it's 200% more. I go, and yet I'm only charging you $5,000 more.
Yeah.
Which equates to about 30% more. Because it's been 6 years, people.
Yeah.
Costs go up. Gas goes up. Electricity, everything goes up. So definitely that. With the social clients, yes, you can go to them and tell them, look, don't make any friends. Because a lot of the times they come to us, social clients, the events, the planning takes about anywhere, the shortest period of time lately has averaged a lot lower, but on average, in normal times, it's from 8 to maybe 18 months out, right?
Okay.
Because they're planning their wedding or their daughter's quinces or whatever momentous occasion. And so that I literally told them, don't make any more friends because you're at your cusp of your budget and then you're going to go over.
Or here's an idea. You don't have to invite all of your fucking friends.
Well, because it depends, right? And then a lot of the times what I have seen trend a lot lately is destination events.
Okay.
Which lowers their guest count, to your point.
Yeah, because people naturally won't travel. Yep.
And so they will naturally be like, oh, but again, you can't plan that. You can plan it further out, but you don't invite people further out because then you're giving them the time to budget for it. So it's like a fine line. You're going back and forth. There's a lot of balance going on your guest count. Our corporate clients, unfortunately, have seen more and more increase, not less, because a lot of people are working from home. So now to engage their employees, they're inviting them to the office and more people want to come out. Believe it or not, it's 2025. It's been 5 years, happy anniversary, since COVID, the shutdown.
Literally
last weekend. Yeah, because I was joking around with Intercom.
I posted about it.
Yeah, it was like 5 years. So it was one of those things where now companies are starting to require their employees to come back.
Right, I know.
And in doing so, they're having events which are engaging their employees to even get to know each other because they know each other on phone or on text or an email, but not personally. So those are increasing. So it's a little bit of both. However, what I do play around with, going back to the budgets, is I play around with the fixed costs, which help me a lot because your audiovisual is going to be your audiovisual. Maybe you add another speaker or two because the production's still going to be there. Yet your food costs are going to vary. Your bartending costs are going to vary. Things like that. That'll definitely kind of play around with. So we try to level off. We're very fluid. Our company, we just have the experience, myself and my team, where we can play with those numbers and say, okay, well, instead of having a sit-down dinner, perhaps consider doing just heavier d'oeuvres for a cocktail
Right.
and not do a sit down dinner and just focus on the food and drinks, but only for 2 hours and
Right.
not have it for 6 hours.
Sure.
So you play with that cost.
Yeah. And again, another example for you listeners, this is where experience matters, right? Like when I get on the phone with clients and you got a budget that I know I can give you some kind of experience, but maybe it's not the perfect budget. It's my ability to understand costs, know what I can do for you, right? Like my objective is to always put the best foot forward because I'm a cocktail catering service. Like we're about quality ingredients, quality presentation, and quality people that are serving it. So none of those things can get sacrificed. If they do, there's no point in doing the event for me.
Correct. I'd rather not do the event.
I'd rather not
at
do the
all.
event. Yeah, 100%.
If I'm going to do something half-ass, I will definitely decline the event.
Yeah, because what is the point, right? Like, what are you getting out of it as a business?
Right.
A one-time fucking check? That's not what establishes a business long-term, right? So, it's what we're going to build off of that, opportunity that we got to do your event, whether it's because we impressed other people in that space and now they want our contact information, or we impressed you, so now you come back to us. Maybe we impressed the venue. Now the venue, gives our information out to
Right.
other potential clients
Right.
as well. This is how I've grown my business.
And by the way,
literally,
you could do everything right for 10 years, and that one event that something went wrong because you lowered your quality,
Yeah.
all of a sudden became viral. And not talking about Instagram, but I'm talking about viral in the sense of the bad reputation that everybody starts talking, oh yeah, but I don't know, their quality's gone down a lot for one event.
Yeah.
So you have to always be on.
Absolutely. And, I think I have these conversations with people a lot. I get a lot of cocktail caterers, who are getting started in this industry the last year or 2 years. And they reach out to me. They send me messages,
Right.
ask me questions. And by the way, I love it. Keep doing it. It's not like I charge you to answer these questions.
but
We're all there to help.
It's nice. It's flattering.
Exactly.
And because somebody's observing you, they're seeing how your quality is good, and you're at the end of the day, you're inspiring them to grow their business.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that's
You're
always
giving
nice. It's
them the
admirable.
confidence that, hey, this guy did it. He can do it. I can do it, right?
100%.
And that's human nature. Like we see somebody fucking do something and it works out. We're like, oh, okay, now I can
Congrats.
do it, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
it's good.
So, I mean, I love that. And there's always usually a couple core pieces of recommendations that I give them. The one most important is that you got to do something different, right? If you're I'm going to give this example of what I mean by trying to get to luxury events, and a great way to make sure that you don't do that, right? So if you're making cocktails every day, and I don't care how fucking great that cocktail tastes, if you put it in a plastic cup, and then your social media, when I go to it, what I see is all these cocktails in a plastic cup. Now, again, I want to reiterate this. Let's just say, for example, your cocktail in the plastic cup tastes better than mine in the glass, right? It doesn't matter because the
does it really?
visual, right? The visual is plastic is cheap. Somebody sees that. So now I associate, okay, this is probably an affordable service, right? Versus if all of the imagery I see of your cocktails is always in nice glasses, beautiful edible flowers, really fancy garnishes, the team's always dressed real nice, the bar setup's always really beautiful. It's like you start to associate that with something luxury and high end. And we know that something that's luxurious and high end is not fucking cheap. So like you start to eliminate the need to like answer all these useless proposals. Sorry to insult anybody out there who doesn't have the budget, but it's just that like some of us I had a conversation with somebody last week. He was asking me for advice as a business owner. He's like starting a clothing company. And I said to him, know your customer before you start this business. Who are you trying to sell to? If you don't know who you're trying to sell to, then how the fuck are you going to market to them? It's impossible.
And listen, it doesn't take away from people that have different levels, different targets than we do, right? So we live in this upscale luxury market because that's where I am right now. That's
Exactly.
where we are.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. However, it didn't always start like that.
Me neither.
I definitely started in lower end backyard parties and things like that. But I knew that that's not what I wanted to do.
Exactly.
I knew I wanted to elevate my business.
Your vision was,
Correct.
I'm going to get here. I'm just starting here, climbing the ladder.
Correct.
Same thing.
So if I can give any advice to anyone that's starting is create your utopia brand.
Mm-hmm.
Create the brand both on paper and physically in person that you're going to be happy with. That's what you want to be. That's what you aspire to be, even if you're not there right now. And so coming from corporate, where I was working in a major global beverage company, I knew that I needed to do that. I needed to identify and define what my brand was going to be. and the evolution of my logo has changed. There's so many things that have changed, but I started somewhere and it was quality.
Yeah.
And then it kept growing because I was always upscaling.
Yeah.
I was always upscaling. From the simple thing that you just said, my team always looks sharp. Always. And if they don't, believe you me, I have sent them home, told them to change and come back. And I've paid them for that time. Because of whatever reason, the communication wasn't there. They didn't clearly understand what to wear, what not to wear. I give my team members uniforms when we have social casual events or even corporate casual events. We're always making sure that everyone looks good and has a huge smile on their face. There's a book called Unreasonable Hospitality. If you haven't heard it or read it, yeah, it's amazing. I listen to it because I don't have the time to sit there and read the book. So I listen to it on my way to whatever I am. Like right now I have to go to West Palm. So I'll probably listen to another book. But that book is amazing. And it talks about over delivering. It talks about never expecting a standard, always going above that standard. As simple as he tells a story where there's a couple that goes into the restaurant and was rushing, paid the meter and parked in the meter parking spot, came in, and the hostess said, "How did you park this evening?" Or "How did you arrive this evening?" "Oh no, I parked in the meter, whatever." "Okay, great. What's your car? What's your make and model?" So that you can really enjoy and relax your experience, enjoy your experience, and we'll refill the meter for you. Don't worry. Of course, this was years ago, but still that story remains in my brain of going above and beyond.
Yeah.
When we do an event that's social, that it has gifts or envelopes or whatever, we have literally taken the envelopes out of the bride's hands or the mother of the bride, and we placed it in our lockbox, and we go and we deliver it to their room. We take pictures and videos to make sure everything's accounted for. We over deliver. And so at the end of the night, when they're like, "Oh, where's everything so we can lug it back?" No, it's already been delivered to your room, or it's already been in your car, and we're waiting and security's there and you're good to go. Those little things.
Yeah. They make a huge difference.
A huge difference.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
That's what's going to make you different from anyone else to what target demographic that you're trying to really attract.
For weddings, I do free tastings. So if they book me, now only if you book me, you understand. Like if I know you're going to fucking pay me, then I'm going to spend my time to come out to your house.
Of course.
We're going to meet in person. I'm going to meet your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother, your fiance. And then we're going to try 16, 17, 18 different cocktails. I leave there. They're usually half in the bag. But we get to meet each other in person, which I love. We get a face-to-face interaction instead of 12 months of dialogue via an email. At least we know about each other. We taste cocktails. They get to understand the quality of these cocktails. We talk a little bit about wedding. I just feel like it brings this level of comfort, right? And I don't charge them for this. I'm just, it's like, hey, look, you're paying me enough money to come to your wedding. This is something I'm just doing kind of above and beyond. People may think, oh, it's easy. It's not fucking easy. It takes forever to drive anywhere in this fucking city. Usually you want to meet me at 5 p.m. and you live in like fucking Coral Gables and I'm coming from Hollywood. So it's like, trust me, it's fucking miserable. The driving sucks. But again, I just feel like it's a great added value that I know probably a lot of other people who are doing what I'm doing aren't offering that. Because they're just smaller businesses and their time's more like directly invested in the operation every day. Whereas like I'm lucky and fortunate to have guys who work for me and run the warehouse and prep and batch, etc. So yeah, I agree with you. Going above, being able to go that extra step. It was something, we used to talk about every day when I worked in restaurants and bars, right? It's the nature of hospitality. I travel a lot, and I can tell you I travel everywhere with my daughter. And some of the hotels I'm always the most impressed with are when, on your reservation, you're telling them who's staying in the room. And so I'll mention it's a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old. And then I get there and they've got a child-size robe or they have like child-size slippers, right? It seems so small, but it's like they didn't just look at it like the mom and dad are paying for this fucking thing. Who cares about the kids? Which is a lot of how hospitality treats children in the United States, right? Like who gives a fuck, right? Like as long as she's got a room and a place to stay. But it's like taking that little extra initiative for me just means a world of difference. Like everywhere I've ever traveled, the smart people know that just treat my kid like gold. You could basically ignore me and we're going to be fucking really cool, you know, because they get it. Like, that's the thing that matters the most to me. If she's fucking happy, then dad's going to be in a good mood.
100%.
Right? And so understanding that in hospitality, like I can remember when I used to serve tables. You go to a table to take an order. There's always a golden rule. If two tables just sat down in your section and one of them has a kid at the table, that's the table you go to first.
Yep.
They're
irritable, they're kids hungry, and you better serve them something.
The fucking table of adults can be more patient because they're fucking adults, right? So anyway, moving on to the next topic. So
it's funny, sorry, before we move on to a different topic, but we also need to treat each other in the industry with that same hospitality in mind. Yeah. So I implemented something which I know is going to come to bite me in the ass later. But I implemented something recently that whenever I have a vendor at one of my events, I write them a thank you note. And I specifically tell them thank you for being a part of our team, because at the end of the day, I could be the best at what I do, but if one of my vendors is for whatever reason below that, then I'm going to suffer as a whole. So I write them a thank you note and I tell them, thank you for delivering whatever service. We really appreciate your punctuality, your whatever. Like it's very specialized or catered to that particular vendor. And I can't even tell you the number of times lately that people are like, jaw drop, Allie, wow, thank you. Like, whatever you need, whatever you want, like, however I can help. I'm like, we're just getting started. Don't worry about it. Just do your job and we're good. Yeah. But it's that little touch, like you just said, that you were impressed with, just being able to satisfy having a robe for your daughter. Like, that's a big deal.
Yeah, it's because, mom and dad wears it, so now she wants to, right? Exactly. So it's like having that specifically programmed in there for her, you know? Yeah. And you bring up a great point. Like, we'll stay with this topic because I think it's something that you're right. It doesn't get talked about enough. I'd say half my events I go to, and the planner is a fucking pleasure to work with and be around. And then another half of them, if I'm just being honest, you're fucking miserable to work with. Right. They treat you like second-class citizens. Like, I'm a business owner, and the way they're talking to me as if, like, I'm on your payroll and I suck at my job. And it's like, hey, look, if one person here is supposed to spearhead the mood, it's you. You're the person that every vendor, when we show up here to, is going to look at. Hey, how are you? Nice to see you. Where's the bar you want? Where you want me to put the bar? When the response to that is fucking snappy and rude, or when, you know, I call because we get on site. We got to make contact with the planner, right? And they don't answer. It's like, fuck, man. Like, could you imagine, like, when you sent me an email to ask me for this proposal, it was at 3 p.m. and you told me you needed it by the end of the day. And I asked my 8-month pregnant wife to drop what she was doing to get this proposal to you in 2 hours. And now you knew for weeks what time we were going to be here. And now we get here and you're refusing to answer your phone. And then when you do, it's like, I'm bothering you. It's like, people really don't understand the damage they're doing to themselves, because you just said it perfectly. Like, I'm going to be honest. There are planners that I treat better in this fucking world and industry than others, right? Like, there are planners I do things for as a business that I do not do, right? Like Sadi Sosa, I got to drop off this week to her branded fruit peels and printed logos for her wedding. I'm not providing the service. I'm providing no staff. She's doing all this with the hotel staff. That's not something I do, but I do it for her, because I love her, right? Exactly. She fucking treats my business like gold. She's always nice to my guys. She's a great planner. She comes back to me. She feeds me business in one way or another, right? Correct. When she did her own party a few months back, when she was celebrating her own, whatever it was, 20 years in business, her anniversary, I gave her a stupid homie price, right? I do it for other people too. I do it for Layla Plant, Christina Manso. Like, the list goes on, you know? There's a bunch of people I just really appreciate and I respect. Lacey Korn, you know? Like, I'm going to do things for these people I don't normally do, just because I know that I'm going to do another big event with you. Correct. I know you're going to, you know what I mean? Like, there's that respect. There's the way they, you know, I like the way they do business. You know, there's no bullshit. But some people, it's not. You know, you get there, it's chaos. This person looks fucking stressed. They're making everybody else stressed.
I'm gonna be honest with you, and I think I told you that day, but when we got to West Palm for that polo match, and I saw your truck, I literally turned to Joe and I'm like, today's gonna be a good day. And he's like, how do you know? I go, because Richard's here. We're good.
Yeah, like certain
we
people,
don't have to worry about anything.
There's you know, and I'm that way too. Like, there are events we're going into, And I have no stress because of who I'm dealing with today, right? I know this person, I know how they operate, but also I know that this person knows me and they're like, hey dude, you just do your thing. Like I don't need to worry about it. It's one less thing I got to worry about. And that's kind of the feeling that I want as a business owner. Like if I feel like you know that I know what the fuck I'm doing and you're not trying to micromanage me, that's better, you know?
Just that respect is
yeah.
crazy.
And like you said,
and you've earned it.
The
Like
follow-up is so fucking lost, man. Like I had a big ass event in early February for one of the largest companies in America and in the world. And the lady I dealt with was fantastic. I don't think she was from here. I think she was from out of state because the company was from out of state. But I went out of my way 2 days later and I sent her a personal text to tell her how much of a pleasure it was to work with her. Thank you for allowing us to be a part of this event, blah, blah, blah. I haven't gotten a fucking response. It's fucking March 17th. Like it's been 6 weeks and I get that all the time, and that's fine. My wife always says to me, never do a kind deed and expect it in return. You just do it because you wanted to. That's fine. But it just blows my mind how, like, you know, people won't take a moment to do that, you know? And we all need to do that. Like, I have so much respect and care for so many different people in this industry just because, like, I respect what you do. Like, whether it's a planner and the amount of shit you have to take on as a responsibility, manage, juggle. You know, I know how hard everybody works in this industry because I do it myself. The sacrifice, like, I can tell you this past December was like, you know, I was ready to shut the fuck down for like a good month and a half. Like I felt like my whole holiday season with my 5-year-old evaporated and I didn't spend any of it with her. Yeah. And I just spent it taking care of everybody else. And that's my job. That's my duty.
Of course.
But the customer doesn't understand that. They don't get that. And that's why I think in December I was like, you know, I had gotten so frustrated. It was like, nobody respects the time. Everything's last minute. The way some clients will treat you is if like, you're the only event, they're the only event you got to do this week. Right.
So yeah, I just, you know what though, when it comes to that, there have been times where my clients, mostly my legacy clients are like, I need to get a hold of you. I need to talk to you. I'm like, okay. I try as much as I can, going back to communication, is to tell them, listen, I'm not going to answer my phone on Sunday. Mm-hmm. I will call you on Monday morning. Yeah. At 10 o'clock in the morning or whatever the case is. Are you available on Monday afternoon? And ask them, what's your availability? Because right now I'm spending time with my family and it's the only time I have for the last 3 months because we all know when it's season, it's like go time.
Yeah, it really doesn't
And my
stop.
husband jokes around and says, babe, I know that I lose you from October to May. He knows. Yeah. And if I get a Saturday here and there, we treasure that Saturday or that Sunday. Like it is gold. But until then, you know that there's no, like if I snap at you, it's not intentional. I promise. It's because I'm just overworked and deprived of sleep. And it's crazy, but you got to keep going because those events don't stop. Yeah. And we take advantage of it because then come June. Yeah,
there's nothing to do for 90 days.
Okay, let's twiddle our thumbs.
There's nothing to do for 90 days.
Because in Miami, that's our season. I know in New York it changes. People have more weddings in the summer. So it depends. But we just have to take advantage when we can and understand that we are not open 24/7. We're not Walmart. We're not like we need to be able to rest and be able to recharge for your events.
Yeah. We're human just like our own clients. Yeah. And I look, I always try to look at both sides of the coin and I understand from their perspective. You know, like I've kind of accepted the fact that like people will never fully live in your shoes, right? My employees will never fully understand what it takes to run a business and own a business and the stress and the risk that comes with that. No, the fact that it's not just me who has to eat at the end of every week. I got to think about you eating as well. Right. And you're like 3 years older than me.
But that's why there's different people, right? That's why there's CEOs and that's why there's people in the mailroom and everything in between. And not everyone wants to be the CEO, and that's good. I'm happy with that because then there wouldn't be room for that many CEOs. Sure. Yeah, and then who's going to actually pick up the garbage and who's going to clean and who's going to do this? And those people are just as valuable as the CEO.
Yeah. Everybody plays a role.
So, but at the end of the day, you do need to retreat and you need to have some R&R. because that's what really, those downtimes are when you come up with new ideas and when you are able to
you just feel
evolve your
inspired
events.
to keep pushing, right? I actually take those moments during season. I refuse to allow myself to go 9 months straight. Some of that is just because of, you know, I'm about to have a daughter in 12 days. It's my second child on the way, and then Millie's 5 years old.
Already.
You know, so it's like I keep finding myself facing the reality of like I got 7 or 8 more years with Millie until all of my influence is gone. So it's like, this is it. You know, I'm not going to give that up to make money. Right. I'm not going to do that. No. I'm going to find a way I can to manage the two, as long as people can respect and understand that. And like we said earlier, that's why some people are not your clients,
right? Because
they don't understand that boundary. It's like, well, I paid you, so I own you for this temporary period of time. No, that's not how it works. You know,
I have a 21-year-old and soon to be 12-year-old. My daughter grew up in this industry. She was a week old when I was on my way to an event. And she was literally in the back seat. And I remember driving up to West Palm, going to check out a venue and the whole ordeal. So she's eaten, breathed, and so is my son, obviously, but that's the bulk of it was my growing pains was when she was a baby.
Yeah.
And man, did I take her everywhere. And to this day, when I hit cancel on my phone and don't answer a call to be with her or to answer her or whatever it is, she's like, she notices. You know, she notices. And so I take the time to be with her. Like today I talk to her. I try to talk to her often, at least every day, once a day, just because she's not with me every day anymore. She doesn't live at home. She's at school. So it's those moments that you value that you really need to cherish, because you don't know when you have them again.
Yeah, no.
And with my son too, like he's into robotics right now. And so like, it's crazy. He plans everything. He's so his mom. He's like, okay, mom, I made this invitation because I'm going to do my Nerf gun war video and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And we need to plan because this quadrant of the space of the house is going to be for this. And so it's just crazy to see them. And I don't want to lose that. I don't want to miss that. No. I don't want to miss out and look back 10 years from now and be like, what do you mean you did that? I don't know what that was. Like,
I say it all the time. I always give this example. And I don't need to know you from a fucking hole in the wall, but I know that on your last week in your life, you are never going to sit on that deathbed and say, oh, I wish I made more money.
More events.
I wish I fucking did more events. I wish I worked more. No. All the things that are going to come rushing through your mind is every fucking golden opportunity you ever missed with your friends, with your family, with your kids. Time is finite. And we tend as humans to treat it like it's fucking expendable. Like somehow we can get it back. And so if anyone needs to hear this, like, look, Elon Musk, the supposed richest man in the fucking world on paper, there's one thing and only one thing on this earth he could never buy. And that's time. Yeah. He can never buy it. So especially if you have kids, I think those who have kids understand that more. If I didn't have fucking kids, my willingness to sell my time to the highest bidder would probably be through the roof. Agreed. But when you got kids, it's just everything changes. And I'm not saying that's for everybody. I see some people who don't give a fuck about how they spend their time and they have kids. It doesn't matter to them, right? There's a mission. They're focused on this. So be it. Right. So am I. I just don't want to die with regret. Correct. So I'm not going to allow myself to completely ignore that part of my life just to focus on growing this business. There's only so much money any of us fucking realistically need. Right. I already managed to get to a point where I make really good money. Everything I'm trying to do now in business is just more for personal growth. I think it's the drive to want to do the next big thing, provide more financial stability to the people that give their time to me. I mean, I think, it's human nature. Like we always want to push something to the next level, grow something. We don't want to feel stagnant, right?
Correct, of course.
Stagnicity sucks. So that's really where my ambition and drive is as an entrepreneur. It's not because I got to make more money, I want to buy a bigger fucking house or I need another fucking Tesla. No, I don't care about that shit. I come from a fucking small little town of 35,000 people in Rhode Island, raised by a single mom who's never even owned a house. Like, so material things don't really mean shit to me. Money is only about the experience. And I tell people now all the time, I drive really to make money and be successful is because what I get to do with it with my kid. Like I'm leaving Thursday to go snowboarding with her for 6 days right before her sister is going to arrive because it's our last shot to do it this year. And that core memory.
Now the attention is going to be directed in a different way.
Yeah. And it's just like, look, I mean, it's a core memory of like I taught her to ski since she was 2. And now blazing down a mountain with her in front of me or behind me is just the greatest feeling in the fucking world. And I don't care what's going on or who wants what event. Like, it doesn't matter. And that ability to just not give a shit about that for a little while is so rewarding. Because when I come back home, it's just every day this alarm goes off. And the first thing I'm thinking about is, what do we got to do today? What do we got to do tomorrow?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
It's, you wake up and you're attached to your phone, which is another thing I was going to say is like when I was growing up, we didn't have that accessibility, right? No. So it's one of those things where I actually did enjoy time with my dad. Yeah. My mom, believe it or not, was always working, but the times that she was present, we were at the beach, or we would go to when we could, because we couldn't afford to go to Disney all the time the way we do it, you know. But when we could go to Disney, we went to Disney. When we could go to the fair, we would go to the fair. When like different activities that we would do together as a family, and you enjoy that because there wasn't that attachment of like accessibility 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And this technology you can use for your benefit or for your detriment, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's one of those things where you need to learn to turn it off. And so I do it, and I tell my team, hey guys, I'm offline for 2 days. And I'm leaving on Saturday, and we go to Orlando for a couple of days just for a quick getaway. And every quarter, I'm pretty sure my husband doesn't know this, but every quarter I set a different goal, and I say, okay, well, this quarter I'm going to work my butt off to be able to do this. Yeah. And then this quarter I'm going to be able to do this. You still have your annual goals. Yeah. You still have your growth and whatever. And this year we're taking a very big trip as a family, and I'm very excited about that. But that's all the hard work.
Yeah, it's a product of sacrifice, right? And like everything, you know, I do the same. We talked about the dead summers. So for the past 3 years, I leave in June and I come back like September 1st. Leave for like 2 months to go to Asia, where it's nice and cheap. I can travel all over the fucking place with my kid. But you know, the reason I even bring this up, or why this is even a topic in this event podcast, is because, you know, I found myself going through this a lot in December, where I think, you know, I remember a client contacting me and wanted to do an event. It was last minute, so it was like the week before Christmas, and she hits me up and the party was in like 3 days. And so I give her a price, and then, you know, like you expect, they come back and, you know, of course, budget calls for this. Well, how can we get this price down? And I had to tell her and be honest, you know, and I was like, look, I'm not going to move the price $1 because I'm so fucking busy. And I have been since September. So it's been almost 4 straight months of this. I haven't seen my kid. Christmas is in 5 days. I haven't done one thing with my fucking kid. Not take her to go see Santa. I still haven't Christmas shopped. It's like, you know how fucking embarrassing it is when you're like 2 days out of Christmas and you're like running around malls trying to like find
Amazon, what's going to deliver.
It's like, fuck, you know? And I told her, like, it's not that important to me to make the money.
Right.
If I'm going to sacrifice the time, then I'm going to value it high. It's like, and you're not going to talk me off that ledge, because if you're giving me the opportunity, if the call is like, okay, make a bunch of money or spend it with your daughter, then I'm going to choose my daughter, you know? So like, I'm just saying this because customers should understand this, like, especially when you get to holiday seasons, New Year's Eve, or even if you're coming to Miami and you're asking me to do an event May 1st, 2nd, or 3rd, which is fucking Formula One, so it's that whole week, or you want to do an event the second week of December when Basel's taking place. If you think you're getting it for the regular, like, off season, it's not going to happen, dude. It's never going to happen, and it should not happen, because the demand's through the roof. My time is being sacrificed. Like, we're not fucking sleeping. I got guys working 9-10 days straight, like, haven't had a day off. At that time, when that lady was contacting me, the 2 guys that worked for me full time hadn't had a day off in more than 3 weeks. They worked 3 straight weeks every day. Did I have an event every day? No, but on the events we didn't have days, we had to prep, we had to batch, we had to clean, we had to load, we had to unload. And this is the thing people just really cannot grasp. You know?
Said 2 things very important, is invest. You're investing your time. It's not spending, not wasting. You're investing your time where you choose to invest your time, just like they're investing money in a quality person, product, or service. And it's supply and demand. It's not about price gouging like a lot of people think it is. It's about supply and demand. When the supply is high, then maybe you can go ahead and, charge a little bit less because there's so many people doing it. So you're like, okay, I'll charge a little bit less because I want to get the job. But when the supply is low and the demand is high, you're going to pay more.
Yeah.
It happens.
And like you said, it's not
that's
gouging.
Everywhere. Yeah. Across the street, across the board, that's everywhere. You have supplies during COVID were really low, so the price was really high. You have venues are in demand at certain times of the year, so the cost of a hotel room is going to go higher. The food is going to it's that supply and demand. It's just
and by the way, this is not a thing that just applies to the event industry. Of
course not. It's everywhere.
If the supply of cars is low and the fucking demand is high, the price of the cars go up. Yeah.
Because I remember I was switching from my Alfa Romeo to my Audi, and I was able to sell it back and made money on it. Mm-hmm.
I had some friends that did that too. Yeah.
So it was like, okay,
because used cars for a while were high in demand. You couldn't get a brand new car for like 12 fucking months because they were all back ordered.
Construction, food, everywhere.
It doesn't matter what it is, right? You go if a particular stock is in high demand, what happens to the price? It rises, right? Like that's how the fuck it goes. And so it's the same thing for us. We're not gouging anything. It's just that when I'm on my 4th, 5th, or 6th contracted event for the same day, you're talking more and more hours that the team is going to work, less sleep I'm going to do, more equipment that's going to go out the door, and not every piece of equipment makes it back in one piece. Like shit breaks, things go wrong. You got to manage your overhead. Also, another thing, I know you understand this. I think we as Miami fucking people get this, but a lot of out of towners do not. I can't pay a bartender the same money on a random fucking week in November than the week of Formula One. And there's reasons for this. Again, this is not because I just choose to do that. It's because if I don't pay him more money, somebody fucking else will, right? Like Bombay Sapphire will come along and go, I'll give you $800, kid, to work a 9-hour fucking day at the stadium.
Sorry.
I gotta beat that. It's like I either have a choice. I gotta beat that or I don't have that bartender, And people don't get that. Like, trust me, these guys in this city, they wait for these weeks. They know they can maximize it. They have the right to do that, by the way. They should be able to, like you just said. The demand is through the roof. You got all these parties. We need quality help. That quality help is going to cost something. There is another option. The other option is to go get shitty help that's very inexperienced, pay a lot less money for it, and suffer the consequences. And by the way, like, I don't know if you've ever done this, but I have, where I was like, it was between me and another vendor, and the other vendor was cheaper, and I would tell the client, go with that vendor.
Absolutely.
It meets your budget but there's a psychological aspect to this. I know that your event is going to suffer, and next year you're going to call me. And you're going to say, it's not worth saving the money.
Correct.
Right? So sometimes like you let them learn through the process of pain and suffering, and then they'll come back. They'll understand, they'll learn the hard way what the difference is between somebody who knows what the fuck they're doing and somebody who does not, right? Yeah. I just had this come up with like an event I have happening for Formula One. I won't mention the company, but again, one of America's largest corporations. We're talking hundreds of billions of dollars. And, like it typically happens, like the richest fucking corporations seem to be the cheapest sometimes. And so here we are negotiating price back from our initial talks. And there were supposed to be like multiple of us kind of involved in managing this pavilion and, from bar perspective. Right. And in the end, they just come back to me and they're like, oh, this other company from like the Bahamas or whatever didn't work out. Paperwork fell through. Can you do their area as well? It's like, see, we could just fucking avoided all this from the beginning.
You would have just hired us for everything.
Yeah, because be weary. If the company from the Bahamas is charging you half my fucking price to fly people here, put up in a hotel and serve, there's got to be a reason. There's a reason, So a lot of times people think like Richie's just trying to push his price through the roof. No, I have high cost to do what I do. I got to make sure those costs are covered. And I feel like to grow an event company, you need to have a pretty healthy profit margin, because to scale a service business that takes human beings, it costs fucking money, right? It's not like scaling, I don't know, I want to sell these sunglasses. right?
It's a widget.
We make them in fucking China. We just tell the fucking factory to make more, right? We just need to buy more inventory.
You change manufacturers, your costs go down, you're able to supply more.
Yeah, we can't do that. We don't have that power. It costs a lot of money. I got to buy equipment or a bigger warehouse or more trucks or hire more bartenders.
Until robots become cheaper, there's no way.
And even fucking then, right? Like, I don't know how much the robot's going to do for me. But to not take too much longer, there are just a couple more things I want to pick your brain about because, again, I'm
enjoying myself.
The corporate event to wedding event industry, is so different. And I think a lot of people who don't experience, either or both don't really understand that. Now, from my perspective as a cocktail caterer, right? Like back before 2020, I used to do shit tons of corporate events. And then when COVID finally started to wrap up a little bit and Florida had decided we were over COVID and our event industry was just going to come back.
I think Miami took like 3 months.
That was basically it. It was a 3-month vacation. They were like, fuck COVID, we're done.
Yeah.
But weddings and private parties came back immediately. And I noticed that over the years. And still to this day, like I have much more corporate events coming back. I work with a lot of DMCs for corporate events. I work with like Cream of the Crop. I used to work with Hello Florida a lot, although I don't seem to work with them at all anymore. I don't even know what the fucking structure of that company is anymore. CSI, I do business with. Deco Productions, I do business with. All these companies. And so I've started to see that come back. But it has been a slow crawl. And I'm curious to know from like your perspective why you think corporate events have taken maybe longer, and maybe it's just the way I'm seeing it. It seems like corporate events have taken longer to come back versus weddings. I remember, for example, like with PRA, I would go to that office. It would be like 50 ladies that worked there, like sales ladies, and now it's like 3 or 5. So I'm just curious, like, do you think the corporate event industry has changed forever because of COVID? That the structure of those DMCs will always be different now, and they will not spread themselves out as thin? And why it has taken longer for those things to come back versus, I have my own theories, like why weddings and private events kind of came back first, but you deal with it more than I do,
Well, social's always going to have celebrations, right? You're always going to have people that
which is part of my theory.
Turning 13 and they're going to have their bar mitzvahs and their bat mitzvahs and their quinces and their sweet 16s, their weddings. People are always going to have those celebrations. At what scale may change, but it's still going to happen. Corporate events have been very cautious going back to liability, making sure everything's good, because whatever happens to them, it's more of a global issue, right? Or at the very least, local issue, depending on what company you're working with. I have a company in particular that I work with, global beverage company, that before COVID did 5 or 6 events with us a year. They celebrated, like they would go to the bathroom and they would celebrate something. It would be Halloween for sure, Thanksgiving, Christmas, take your kid to work day, anniversary day, like just so many different things. And we're super excited because there was a lot of revenue for us, right? And then COVID hit and they did nothing for not 1, not 2, but 3 years. I wanted to die because that corporate is our bread and butter. Yeah. And I was like, and them in particular. So it took them 3 years and they slowly trickled back. A lot of it had to do with their employees are off site. There's really nothing to celebrate. And they could do things a lot less expensive and cut their budgets. And believe it or not, the celebrations have changed social that have affected that particular company. You have to also be aware of what's going on in politics and how the addendums, how law is being changed right now with new administration, without getting into partisan, like which party we're into, but laws have changed. And so therefore it affects some of our corporate clients. And so that affects their budgets. So it's been a slow change back to what we feel would be normal. Yep. But they're still, they're coming back. It's just a matter of adjusting, getting their footing as to this administration versus the previous. And then COVID, it doesn't help that we had the pandemic. Of course. And like it really affected our clients. But it's coming back. This one particular client has already had, they did their Thanksgiving celebration last year. They were able to do a take your kids to work day pretty soon coming up. So it's coming back. It's not as fast as we would like it. Yeah. But it's little, and they're changing the way that they're doing their events for sure. It's a little bit more intentional versus a big to do. So I've seen it. That they'll all come back. Not really. I've had some clients close departments altogether that are not going to have that department again, and they're outsourcing it, not necessarily within the United States, which is affecting them as well now with everything that's going on in politics.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Unfortunately, we have to be aware of those issues that are going on.
Sure. Yeah.
Because it doesn't just affect them, it affects us because of obviously
Absolutely.
the domino effect, right?
Yeah, yeah. We talked about this before we even started today,
exactly.
right?
So you have to be aware.
The
as
tariff
an
wars,
entrepreneur. Right?
Yeah,
exactly.
the tariff wars, and how they're affecting all of us, especially if you're like me and you're working with fresh produce, food, beverage, and things that do not fucking get made in this country. And I think it's, so expect things to change.
Right. It affects all of us in the industry because even florals that are not grown here, you have food that is
citrus
imported.
Isn't fucking grown here. For all of you who love drinking tequila, the number one consumer spirit at all my events, what do you think's going to happen to the price of that? Because where does it come from? It comes from Mexico. So that's going to go up.
So exactly. And just and things that are from China. If you look at 90% of the stuff that you have that you hold in your hands every day.
Yeah,
so
cocktail shaker, strainer, jigger, all gets made there.
Everything. Yeah. So you have all these different things going on in the world, and you really have to be aware. I'm not telling you to go out and be an expert in politics and referendums and laws and so forth. I'm just saying be aware of what's going on and definitely do your research and read, because that does affect your clients.
Yeah.
And it affects your social clients too, because if your client is the CEO of a business that now their budgets are getting cut, guess what's going to happen? They're not going to have a big to-do wedding for their daughter.
Yeah.
They're going to have maybe half of that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's true. And, it's something I've always thought about as a business owner over the years, and I'm curious to get your perspective on this, but like, let's say like right now, for example, the markets are getting fucking railed right now, whether you're crypto or your stocks, and for a variety of reasons, everything from from tariff war conversations, conflict still going on between Ukraine and fucking Russia. And then there's a multitude of, we still have inflation. Right. Interest rates are still very high, which is actually probably fairly fucking normal. But for those of us that went through like 3%, 2% interest rates, this still seems like fucking crazy. So everything kind of points to like an economic downturn, right? Everybody keeps talking about recessions and whatnot. And I'm curious to know, as a corporate event planner, right? Because when I hear recession, when I see stock markets just crashing, the first thing I think of in terms of affectedness is like who's affected the most is these corporations, right? Like if you're fucking Tesla, you just lost half of your valuation in the last year. That has to play a role in the budgets that you put together for something like a corporate event. Right. So how does that play an effect? Like, I've always tried to look at those aspects and project how I think my next year will go. Like if we're really in a recession, if people are going to be losing jobs, if businesses are going to start to suffer, I think it's naive to assume that won't affect my bottom line just because I do events, like, I don't know, it has to.
So at the beginning of the podcast, you say like, what are the stresses? And I said communication, right? Well, this is actually the number one stress that I lose sleep on, because I am a huge analytical person. Like, I like to see what my projections are. I want to see what my P&Ls are constantly. I know it's hard to like understand that the words that are coming out of my mouth, and I'm a planner at the same time. I look at numbers. I look at my analytics. I look at what's going on in my business and the trends. And so I like to be able to plan. And to be able to do that, you have to be cautious, because you're basically counting on our clients to continue giving you that work, right?
Yeah.
So that's why in the last 24 years, I've diversified my business model completely so that it doesn't depend on any one market in particular.
Yeah.
So when I first started, I was doing some social, and then I went all the way in, head deep into real estate and construction. And then in 2007, that blew up in my face, and I was like figuring out what the hell I had to do, which is when I told you I went into bartending for a little bit. I worked with Suzanne Michael Catering, and we went into that whole ordeal. And I did whatever needed to do to make ends meet, but I promised myself that I would always diversify my business. And that's something that I, as a planner in the corporate arena mostly, I have learned to do. So I have healthcare, which I'm going to do a setup for that today. I have real estate. I have beverage companies. I have a lot of different industries to be able to have I have tech, which boomed during COVID.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different spaces that you can be in as a planner to be able to diversify your business. Definitely your niche is always going to be your niche because that's what you specialize in. You're really good at that. But if you could diversify. But as far as the companies are concerned, it's going to be interesting. We've been through similar situations in the past. It's all cycle. If you listen to Tony Robbins, there's different seasons in life.
Yep.
So it's going to be interesting. And like I said, you just have to really keep your ear down to the ground and hear what everything is going on and educate yourself and be able to react quickly.
Yeah, for sure. It's something that, like I said, you have to be very wary of. Sometimes you see the opportunity to like expand and grow your business, and so you fucking jump at that, and then the market fucking retracts real quickly, and you're like, shit, that was a mistake. I see this with restaurant and bar owners all the time because they have success with an establishment, and then they run out and they go, okay, well, if I expand square footage, I'll have the same amount of success.
Right. Trial and error.
Yeah, exactly. No, the next one's less profitable than the establishment you had, so now you're just fucking pulling profits from one to basically band-aid the other, right? Like sometimes it's not.
And
always
just because it worked at that one particular time
doesn't mean it's going to work.
Doesn't mean it's going to work today.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah, it's and I think this about my own business constantly. Like when I am talking to someone who says like they're trying to do this in some random part of the country, I'm like, look, I can give you advice, but I can't guarantee that it's going to work out for you the way it worked out for me.
Right.
Like, where am I located? I'm located in this is Miami. It's like, I got people that have fuck you money and a huge desire to show off to other people. That's not a culture even where I am from. Like, we don't fucking show off to anybody.
No, but it's
here,
Miami.
That's
it's
what
Miami.
you do. I always I joke and say, like, trust me, I think some of the wealthy people want to throw parties at their house just because they want to show their fucking house to their friends. You know what I mean? Like,
and yet I had wealthy clients that refuse to do anything at their house because they feel that whoever's in their house needs to be invited, and it's the energy that they're creating, and so they do that and they show off, but just offsite. Yeah. So it depends. It depends.
Yeah,
on
exactly. No, exactly. I mean, look, I have you do definitely have some humble, wealthy clients that I work for that are just really cool, great people, know where they came from, treat you that way. Like you can feel that, right? And then you end up with another subset of people that clearly forgot that, like money has kind of overtaken the way that they talk to people and fucking respond to people.
Correct.
Yeah, it's
humanity.
It is.
But it's not just here, because we both do events outside of Miami, outside of South Florida. I've had the privilege of doing events outside of the country in different countries altogether, and it's just a matter of you adjust. You become a little bit more flexible. You're a little bit more fluid. You learn what the cultures are, what they like to do, what they don't like to do, how much money they want to spend, how much they want to show off, how much they don't want to show off. So it's like all a balance. But yeah, Miami is a different country all in itself.
Yeah, it really is. It's a completely different monster. That's why I say, like, I probably started this in the right place in the country. Even when I started out, it's a lot of misconception, even from the guys who work for me today, is like everybody thinks I started this and then like just fucking came out of the gates doing a shitload of events. Most people don't realize, like, dude, I worked a full-time job for 3 years when I had this company. 3 years. I was still managing a bar full-time. I was swapping my days off to be able to do events. And then finally, after 3 years, I was like, okay, I replaced my income. And then the next year we had COVID. So it was like fucking, everything I remember
having a conversation with you during COVID, how you were pivoting and you were trying to
cocktail
do
boxes.
the cocktail boxes. I remember that conversation.
So kind of going back to what you were saying about, like, being more versatile, finding other avenues of revenue. That's one of the reasons I'm sitting here in this fucking studio doing this podcast, right?
Thank you.
I'm not making any money off of this podcast, but,
but
it's the possibility that, it could lead to something, or maybe it's just me wanting to, I don't know, challenge myself in a new realm. That's why I do this stuff with social media content. I don't want to talk about it too much, but I have like a high pressure processed line of cocktail mixers coming out, right? That'll be able to fucking, force anybody to be able to make a delicious handcrafted cocktail by just pouring a simple 2 ounces and shake, strain, garnish with a spirit, and voila, right? Doing things like that. I did the cocktail boxes in the past during COVID to be able to still get cocktails to people's front doors.
We got to pivot.
I do
entrepreneurs.
all sorts of events. I do fucking bar mitzvahs, kosher events, weddings, private parties, tons of corporate shit. High-end kids parties, you name it. Like I always said from the beginning, I think bars and cocktails are needed in a lot of places. I don't really need to have any one niche. I like being able to do it all. You want me to come up with Fortnite themed cocktails for a kids party, we'll do that. Or I don't know, we can do an adults Alice in Wonderland party. It doesn't matter, right? It's all part of the fun and creativity. And I do think you're right. Like, you need to branch out as much as possible. If you're a one trick pony in the event industry, you're just one COVID away from fucking kind of losing it all, diversity. And it might not be COVID, it could be anything. It could just be a financial recession. Who the fuck knows? It could be another pandemic, it could just be a downturn in
and listen,
America.
Diversity doesn't mean that your company itself has to do it all. I capitalize a lot on other planners hiring me, which is not even something.
Yeah, I know. I see you at events all the time. Like, you're not even the main plan, but I just see your face all
the
over
time.
The
right.
place.
I have the privilege of working with some amazing, talented people, and they bring me in to run logistics because that's my specialty. Yeah. And so that's my niche, but I diversify and I do all sorts of events. So Jackie O, I have to give a lot of credit to. Jessica de Quesada, I don't know if you knew, when she was working with Live Like Bella, brought a lot of us together, and that's the reason why a lot of us know each other. Monica Pardo, Lila Plant, Valerie, Jackie herself. So we all kind of got to know each other, and then we started collaborating on a lot of things. It was like, wow, our minds exploded of, we're not competition, we're really collaborators in this industry. And so I have that privilege of working with them, and because of Jackie, I connected with Lisi, and we do a lot of events with Lisi. So I really love
it's crazy how big and small the industry is.
100%.
Like, every name you just fucking said, I've done events for all of those people, right?
It gives me goosebumps because you don't realize how good you have it with all the friends that you have in this industry, and then you start naming all these names and you're like, wow. And then when I share that, when people are like, oh, who do you work with? And I'm like, Joe Plana, Lisi Korn, Jackie O, what are, they're like, those are really good planners. I'm like, yeah, I only associate myself with the best.
Right.
So
yeah, exactly. Because you work your way up to, to that point, right? Like I said, everybody starts somewhere. And I always see it, like even people that I'll follow on social media. It's like, sure as shit, you'll look under who else follows them, and it's most
exactly,
of them, right? Like,
exactly. And then I hire other planners to do certain things as well. Like, I have Grace from Divinely Social that helps me a lot with different events, and then
I just did a wedding with her, as a matter of fact.
Down in Homestead in Walton House. Yeah.
Love the Walton House.
So it was great. So I love what I do, and to me, it's just. I know that's the cliche that if you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life, and we have the privilege of partying for a living. Like, this is what we do. So yes, it's chaos. Yes, it's stressful. Yes, it's a lot of things, but it's still what keeps me going.
Yeah, look, I always say nothing great in life was ever easy. Right. No. If it was, it probably wasn't that great to begin with. So, for anyone out there who's aspiring to get involved in this industry, expect to work hard. You're going to make sacrifices. There's going to be some times this season where, like you said, we don't see our kids, we don't see our friends, we don't see our families. But we make up for it. It's how you juggle it as an entrepreneur. I don't feel great when my daughter says to me, like, hey, you work every day. It's like, yeah, but then there's a period of time where I'm not working at all, and I spend all my time with her and with my wife, and, get back to my normal everyday life, go to the gym, eat like a normal person, sleep a regular schedule, but to do anything successful, especially for yourself, it's just going to take time and sacrifice. But the reward is, I don't think there's anything more rewarding than doing something for yourself. It's funny. I went to school for entrepreneurship, and then I failed out after like my second year. And I feel like that's such a common fucking story. It's like the amount of people that own businesses that didn't finish college. It's crazy, right? And again, it's because I think what really comes down to is like a good entrepreneur just understands hustle, grind, and sacrifice. Right. That's it, right? 100%. Like somebody said to me one day, a friend of mine, we were on a phone conversation, and he said, the crazy thing about you is like, if you weren't doing this, you'd just be doing something else, right?
Right.
Like if I wasn't owning a cocktail catering company,
You'd be owning
it would have just been
something.
something else, you know? So like if I lost this business, you're probably just going to find another realm of making money. Because making money for yourself isn't that hard. You just need to have a talent to be able to offer people, get their attention, and be able to monetize it, right?
Yep.
So like I say this to people all the time, like I think Craft Cartel for its first time ever did $1 million in revenue last year. It's such a small percentage of small businesses that get to that number. It's crazy. I didn't even know.
I remember my first $1 million year. I almost about died when I saw the numbers.
It feels so good.
But then at the end of that year, I promised myself that I would always look at the numbers, because I wasn't looking at the numbers, and I know I could have done so much more had I been more vigilant of what I was doing.
And just seeing those numbers, it gives you, like a target, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so every year I enjoy going to my accountant. I love going to her because I get to ask her questions. I learn more about this whole fucking taxation thing.
Right.
But I get to see whether we progressed, regressed, or stayed stagnant. Yeah. I'm fortunate that every year for many years now, we keep progressing, especially since COVID. And that just feels good. And then when I found out like the percentage of businesses that'll even get to that number in revenue, the percentage of businesses that even succeed is only 10%, right? So it's a huge achievement, you know, it's a lot. But the point is, like, I was a struggling bartender, like every other struggling bartender in the city. Used to come home on those bad nights where you'd make $100 in off season, miserable, depressed, you know, spent like 11 hours away from your wife and shit. And so, you know, I took that misery that I was going through and then turned it into something that made me wealthy, allowed me to hire good people, gives me ownership of my time. You really can do that as anything. Yeah. You know, if you want to be a fucking millionaire barista, you can be. There is a process to go through. And I just briefly explained it. Like, be the best, get people's attention, which, by the way, is fucking easy because everyone's attention is right here.
Right there.
And it's free to post content there. But you know, people really limit themselves. I'm sure you hear this, you deal with it. One of the guys.
And we could have a whole nother 2-hour podcast on just the administration part of it and how you can be more efficient with and streamline your administration process and your operational costs and everything else that goes with it. But man, does it feel good when you accomplish something so big.
And so one of the last questions I'll ask you is like, for you said 24 years, right? Mm-hmm. 24 years. And obviously, like, you started somewhere and now you're all the way where you're at today. What's that one thing you think that really propelled your business to that next step?
Drive.
I'm sure there was something. Just your drive?
Drive.
Every year.
It's the purpose of having my kids around and wanting to show them what they can possibly do. That drive is just insane. I don't want my kids to sell themselves short. I want them to realize their full potential. And if they see that their parents are doing it and that we set ourselves a goal and we accomplish it and surpass it and then set a new one and keep going, that drive. And I know that it's not there every day.
Of course not.
There's times where you wake
By
up.
the way, you're human, so you're allowed to some days not have
just
that.
A little bit human.
You're allowed to
but
not
like
have
there's
that.
days where I wake up and for the last probably, I think it's been like 6 months or 8 months that I've been waking up at 4:30 in the morning. I go to the gym 3-4 days a week, maximum 5 days a week, because you need to rest. And plus we're in the events industry.
Yeah, we already work out as it is.
So we work a lot. We work out a lot. And there's days where I wake up and I'm like, I don't want to go to the gym. And I'm like, but if I don't go to the gym, I'm not going to feel as good as I've been feeling every single day. So sometimes it's like, man, I don't want to do that event, or I don't want to go to that event or whatever. And I'm like, but it turns out to be the best event. So that keeps propelling me forward and forward and forward, and being able to look at my kids and showing them that you can do it. And
Are you trying to teach them to be their own entrepreneurs? Is that what your hope is later in life?
Caught more than taught. You know, I think that it's, if that's what they want to be, then so be it. My parents were shocked when I said I was leaving my 10-year job at Bacardi and decided to be an entrepreneur. They're like, well, what are you doing? Are you crazy? You're going to give up like, I was making really good money. I was a whole 21 years old and now 22 years old. And I was like thinking about all this, whatever. And then I was 24. And next thing you know, I was like, okay, I'm quitting. And my parents like, you just had a kid. And I'm like, actually, I was 26 when I had to like, you just had a kid and you're literally leaving this lovely job that you absolutely adore. I'm like, yeah, I want to keep growing. And they're like, I can't believe you. I'm like, you can't believe me? You have a mortgage company. And I turned to my dad, you have a real estate company. You guys are entrepreneurs. You've set the bar. Yeah. I want to keep going. Yeah. I want to have that same flexibility. I want to be able to grow. I want to be able to create my own opportunities and my own destiny. How else did you think I was going to do this?
Yeah. Yeah.
This is my path. This is what I want to do.
And by the way, like really what you did was took a fucking huge risk, right? Because you had a kid, you left a guaranteed paycheck, took a risk to go into business for yourself. Now, I want everybody to fucking listen very carefully because I read a lot of, biographies, autobiographies about different business owners. We're talking like the fucking best entrepreneurs you can think of in life, right? Everybody from a Steve Jobs to, even though I don't like him much these days, Elon. There are just these, there are certain commonalities, right? And the one commonality that always pops up in all of these guys is that there's no reward without a risk. So you have to take risks in life if you want to get to somewhere past just a fucking paycheck every other week. It's necessary. It's literally what defines me as an entrepreneur versus the guy that takes a paycheck every 2 weeks. You chose the guarantee, and I understand. That's not me fucking knocking you, by the way, because there's a lot of security and mental security in getting a paycheck every 2 weeks. You can live your life based around a specific parameter. You know what you make. You know what your disposable income is, what your vacations can be like, what house you can afford, etc. Me, I don't fucking know any of that, and I haven't known that for many years. There's no guaranteed check coming next week. I got one fucking event this week. I have an event tomorrow. Oh, actually, no, I think we just booked another event for Wednesday, and I have a delivery for Saudi. But regardless, like a week ago, I did 6 events in 4 days. So you see the difference from 1 week to the next. And you got to live with that.
But Richard, there's no real safety net. There's no real security because a company can come in today and tell you you've laid off 10, 15, 20% of the business. So all the employees now don't have a paycheck. So what are you going to do? No,
for sure. I mean, look, it's so that risk that you take to provide that security for yourself because it's self-controlling, right? Like I said earlier, if it wasn't this, I would be doing something else. But I didn't always have that confidence in myself. Like I can remember starting this business and not knowing really what the fuck to do. I just knew how to make really good cocktails. I knew how to take care of people. But I didn't understand how to market myself. I didn't know any of you planners at all. I had to fucking send cold emails and hope one of you would just give me this fucking shot, and then I could prove like, hey, look, this is legit.
Because why would we hire you when we have a hotel that has bartenders?
Exactly. And trust me, that was the mountain that I had to climb. There was the hotels didn't even understand how to let me into their fucking property. I didn't even understand how to explain it to them so that it would make sense. Eventually, with enough conversations, I started to understand, hey, wait a second. If I'm fully insured and I cover all my own liability, and what I bring onto this hotel property is what you do not provide at all, and nor do you want to, by the way, because you do not want to fucking have somebody in your events department focusing on mixology and handcrafted cocktails. But what you want to do, you want to sell that space. You want to sell that liquor at some fucking astronomical markup. Correct. You want to sell the glassware rent. Fine. Sell them all that shit. I don't give a fuck. Make your money. Correct. Let me make mine. Now everybody's happy. And that's how I started realizing this is the best avenue to do business, right? Yeah. Is if I make it a situation where everybody wins. You win because your client's going to be happy. The hotel
I'm providing an experience for my client that they didn't have before.
Right. And you can offer this to them instead of being restricted based on what the hotel is able to provide. The hotel makes their money. Because, by the way, like when you're at Fontainebleau's property, if it's an 800-person event, I'm not serving 800 people. They're still going to have their unionized bar staff, still going to be there, behind the bars. We're just going to do a separate ancillary station. So it's like, if anything, we're just going to make this event a little bit better. The client's going to pay more money, but everybody else is going to get paid. We're not going to take any money from each other. We're going to do this together and, work to achieve the common goal. And that's what really worked for me. But I had to understand that.
I's are dotted, their T's are crossed. They have the insurance. For them, it's an easy sell. Yeah. For us, it's when you start trying to convince your client, like, listen, you need this because this is a whole different level.
Yeah.
It's a whole nother level. It's like you it's the difference between a 1 carat and a 5 carat diamond ring. Like it makes that difference.
Yeah, for sure.
I promise.
I mean, I think so too. Again, it's, we get to these events and I always tell people, you've been to an event in your life, you can get vodka sodas, whiskey, Cokes, Heinekens, and fucking Amstel Light, but how many of them have handed you this beautiful cocktail that tasted fucking delicious? And I just made a video and posted on social media yesterday that was like, you actually waste money when you choose the cheaper option and you serve shitty cocktails. I've been at those events. They're just a bunch of fucking dead soldiers lying on tables all over the event space. Nobody really consumes it. But the wasted liquid, you still paid for. You know what I mean? Like, it's that they didn't charge you based on whether the guy drank the whole cocktail. No, they just they charge you to stock it. That was it, So at least get your money's worth and serve them something that they actually find delicious.
Agreed.
But look, our 2 hours has pretty much commenced. I think we went 15 minutes over.
It's all good.
But that's always a sign of a good podcast. It means we just had fun. We had good conversation. Thank you for coming. It's I know this time of year we're still all super fucking busy until we get to the end of May. But it's true. It's Monday. So I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. I wish you the best end of your season and look forward to our next event together.
Thank you. Yes.
So I'm sure we'll see each other on site somewhere soon.
Absolutely.
All right?
Actually, I was thinking I need to kind of book you for July.
There you go.
Because you're not going to be here, so I need to book
No,
you.
actually, this summer I will be here because I have the baby.
Yeah.
So there's no long travel happening this summer.
Yeah,
my first Miami, staying in South Florida in like fucking 4 years.
Well,
so
it's not really well, I'm going to take you to the Keys, so we're good.
I love that, actually.
Okay.
Anytime. That's where I'm going to spend my silver years, I
Oh.
call it. Right? So when all my hair fucking turns gray, I'm just going to trade everything in for a pair of shorts and sandals, and I'm just going to go move down to the Keys. Live like one of those fucking old school fishermen, drinking rum every day.
Some of my favorite people.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much. That was our episode of Sip and Tell for the day, and wish you all a blessed week.